So the big question is this: how do investors like us who trade options and manage our own money generate income regardless of where the stock market goes, and do it all in a way that lets us make time for the people and things we love, and yet still build wealth and remain profitable? That's the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. I'm your host, Kirk Duplessis, and you're listening to The Daily Call from Option Alpha. Hey everyone, Kirk here again at OptionAlpha.com, and welcome back to The Daily Call. Hopefully you guys had a really good Thanksgiving yesterday. And today I figured, why not talk about how Option Alpha makes money? And I think that this is a interesting question, one that we, I don't know if we've talked about specifically like this in like a targeted format. We talk about it all the time because people ask, and people ask via email. And so I have lots of responses where I tell people how we make money. And I think it's important to just openly tell you guys where we're at, because it's, you know, if you're part of our community or want to be part of our community, shouldn't you know, right? And I would want to know. I often ask people who are running other websites, like, how do you make money? How do you keep the lights on? How do you generate income, etc.? And so I want to first take a step back and tell you kind of like the progression of where Option Alpha is, because I think it's important that you understand how things have progressed over time. So I've actually been running Option Alpha basically now for about 10 years. I mean, my first go at online was never any intention, really the first couple years of doing Option Alpha and running the original blog, which that's all it was originally, was a blog, was just to chronicle my own journey, to share what I was doing, not only with myself, so I had some sort of like journal that I could look back on, but also with other investing friends that I still had relationships with from my time in New York and from school, etc. And so I wanted to just have something there that I had as a public display of what I was doing. So I was trading at home and I was making trades and I was doing this, full time, and I wanted to show what I was doing and have that out there. And so for the first couple of years, that's all it was. It was just me writing, blog posts. Sometimes originally it was, a couple lines or sentences, and that was a blog post, air fingers quotes, which nowadays we don't do that because it just clutters up everyone's inbox and nobody really cares. But for me, it was back then, I would write about, like how I felt about that day and where the market was, etc. Basically everything I do, and mostly in video updates now. It just, in that time, it was just all written format. And so eventually people started coming to me and saying, hey, well, I'm following what you're doing. I'm seeing your trades. Could you let me know when you, make some trades? And that's originally how it started. And so originally I started, taking subscriptions from people and saying, yeah, sure, I'll, add you to an email list. And that's all it was. I just had like a simple group, if you remember those, in your email service provider. And I would, have a group of these people. And, if you paid me a couple dollars at that point, it was, hey, you want to get in? It was a couple dollars, whatever, very notional fee. And then I would send you anything that I did, right? And it was really nothing more than that. We didn't post trades to the website. We didn't have all these video tutorials, etc. And so as that started coming in, people started asking questions like, well, why do you do this? And how do you do this? And tell me about the process behind this. And eventually got to the point very quickly, albeit, that I realized that one, there was a huge gap in understanding the market, not only between the people that I was dealing with, but also things I wanted to figure out as well. And so I wanted to progress as a trader myself, and I knew I couldn't do that without, buying data and buying research, etc. And I started getting questions, the same questions over and over again. I started getting a lot of basics questions. I started getting a lot of, strategy questions. And I realized there had to be a better way to serve people online with also being cognizant of my time, that I couldn't reply back all these detailed emails to people with, 45 pages of notes and details, right? And that's eventually where we started doing some video training, some video courses, video tutorials. That's honestly originally how everything started, was the need to not only fill a gap that people had questions, but also that I felt I could answer those questions and provide kind of unbiased. As nobody who was part of a brokerage, I didn't have any affiliate relationships, none of that. Like, I was just totally a third party. I was an independent trader and still am. And so I want to provide that type of third party service where I can teach and also be, useful for my time. I didn't have to reply back to a million emails. And so if you take that progression then and kind of fast forward to where we were, say, 3 years ago from now, because that was like the next major, tipping point for us. Most of what we did at Option Alpha at that time was just training and then basically people subscribing to our alerts. So people would come and still do, and that's what we still do, and we'll still have this forever, obviously. but people would subscribe to get notifications for our trades. We'd post them to the website. We do the video review. We've been doing that now for, I think, like almost 6 years. We've been doing the video review. So we have a huge backlog of video reviews that we've been doing every night and all these trades that we've been posting, etc. And so at that point, we started to generate enough money on the people who had signed up that I started to be able to buy about 3.5 years ago now. We started to be able to buy data in raw format. And so my goal has always been to take what we collect as far as income or revenue from subscriptions and keep it so that we have the ability to buy data. So that's what I always did. So Option Alpha is an independent company from myself, and I have continued to just pour the same money that I collect from income and revenues and subscriptions and anything else that we do. I pour it back into research and software and development. It's like a constant cycle for me to reinvest it back into other stuff. And the reason I do that is because I think that's the best use of the money right now. To be frank, like I could take the money and I could, just totally liquidate it every month and use it for myself. Totally, right? And I'd have that right. And I'd have that, frankly, ability to do that as the business owner, as somebody who runs Option Alpha now. But for me, it's a self-serving purpose because if I can take, let's say, a group pot of collective money that people have paid and now have the ability to then redeploy that capital into buying raw data from the CBOE or from the NASDAQ or from iVolatility or from all these different sources, and then build backtesting software and all of this stuff, like basically redistribute that data, that software, that service back out for an insanely low value compared to the cost if one person had to do this by themselves. I think it's totally a win-win across the board. And for me, selfishly, I get to learn so many new things. I get to learn how to tweak strategies and how to improve my own trading, this is by far a trading journey for me, just like it is possibly for you. So like I said, we started about 3 years ago, actually started to buy data in raw. Now we've bought, I would not even say the dollar number of that we've bought as far as data and that we've paid in programming and software and development and backtesting. But by far, it's definitely a 7-figure figure if you want to just use that as a raw basic benchmark for where it could be. And for me, that's important for you guys to know listening to this podcast, because frankly, you couldn't do this by yourself if you wanted to get all this data. Or if you did, you'd have to have an account size dramatically more than that to make it actually useful. And so I think it's a good crowdsourcing way for us to do research and development and then give it back to you at a fraction of the cost of what it costs us on our end, but it just generally, makes up for it in the end, right? So again, about 3 years ago, we started doing all this. And now the basic model for Option Alpha for me going forward is still to offer free training, still to offer free courses. That will never change. We do that because I think it's a great way to build a relationship with you. I think it's a lot of transparency in the market. I know there's other companies out there that are rightly mad at us for doing this, right? For offering it for free. And I've gotten the emails to prove it, where I get emails from a founder of another company or, somebody who owns a, website or service. And they're basically requesting that I take down our free training and that I actually charge something for it, because they're losing people that, go from their $2,000 training course to our free training course, which is 100 times better anyway. But I will never change that. And we'll never do ads. We don't do ads on the website. We never have. I've never actually liked going to a website ever and seeing it riddled with ads. In fact, I actually think it's a huge distraction. So that's something that we also never do. And we can do because it's just me. It's me running this company. I'm in total control, obviously. So now moving forward, even though we have free membership and free training, you can always get the free courses. That will never change. We'll keep adding to that. We'll keep improving that, keep doing more training and more courses as you guys let us know what you need. Now, the next step, I think, is just something that's you guys have seen over the last year or so, but it's really software and research that kind of complement our membership. And the reason that we do that, and the reason that we generate income from that, and then we basically plow it back into more research and more development, which I'll talk about here in a second. But the reason that we do that is because not everyone, we've learned, wants to be part of our membership. And I get that. And I'm totally cool with that. If you don't want to be part of our pro or elite membership, I'm not going to force you to do that, right? And I never do. So it's your choice to upgrade or not, right? You can be a free member forever if you want to and use all of our training and then go. And I'm totally good with that. But we also found that people had this gap where they felt like they had some missing understanding that could be filled with just buying a research report, right? And paying money for some of that research and some of that backtesting data. Or now we've started to develop software so that it makes it easier for not only us to find and execute trades, but also for you to find and execute trades. And so we found that people like the ability to have choice. No pun intended. They want options and the ability to follow our trades or use our software and use our research and do their own, or a combination of the two. So really at Option Alpha, that's where we generate our revenue. That's how we make our money, is through membership, obviously, which funnels into software and research, and then software and research just self-fulfilling cycle where it just funnels into more and more software and research. So at the exact moment in time that we're recording this call on the 24th right now, we're literally in the process of finalizing more research reports that we'll be pushing out. So our big report that we did this year, which was really kind of the hallmark or major report that we did, was our profit matrix report, where we analyzed millions of different option strategies over decades and lots of ticker symbols and lots of setups. And that was for us, really groundbreaking to get that out there, because nobody's done this much research in the options trading space ever. It's never been published on a large scale like this. And it took a long time for us to do this. And now we're starting to, again, use the income that we got back after our significant investment and then relaunching that report, the income that we're now getting back from that original investment, to go back into more research and more development and doing basically more research on volatility products specifically. So we're going to be launching a report on volatility products. So the VIX, VIX, UVXY, et cetera, how to trade around those volatility products by themselves. Also more research on adjustments. So one thing that we didn't do with the profit matrix report is we didn't test any adjustment strategies. So now we're taking some of the better strategies from that and starting to overlay and test adjustment techniques, right? Which complicates things even more on the back end as, development and testing wise. But if we can do that now we can start to add and kind of fill in all these gaps. Another report that we've been working on, another research, field for us, has been earnings trades. So we've been testing a lot of different earnings trading strategies, not only just doing what we typically do, which is selling options the day before the event, but also selling options 5 days before or 10 days before. Do we close early? Do we buy options, right? Like, is there a scenario where buying options before earnings or during earnings works out? What is that scenario? And so answering a lot of these questions, again, with the income that we generate from all the sources that we have and plowing it back into more research and more development. The final stage, I think at this point right now for software-wise, is we're starting to develop portfolio tracking software. So that to me is the next huge milestone for our software development team. It's that portfolio tracking software, because if we can develop software where you can now basically import your trades from whatever brokerage you're using, and have the ability to see where you are in your trading strategy. What a lot of people do right now is they use Excel files, which is totally inefficient, but it's probably the best thing we could do at the moment. There's nothing out there right now that allows you to import trades and then appropriately look and analyze the trades that come in. Are you winning more often on your iron condors or your iron butterflies? What's your win rate on your credit spreads versus your calendars? And starting to look at that data to give you more information to make a smarter decision about your next trade. If you know that your iron condors right now, however you're setting them up, are the best position in your account, maybe you make more of those. Maybe you trade more iron condors, right? And starting to give you that information to be able to do that. And then the future, some of the things that we'll be working on for sure that I've kind of like earmarked that we haven't been working on exactly right now, but we will be in the future, are software around auto trading and auto execution of trades. I think that's going to be a natural progression. We talked about that, I think, in show 99 of the regular podcast, the weekly podcast. But I think just the auto execution of trades in the future is something that we're going to have in-house at Option Alpha, where you can not only scan, optimize, backtest, and then auto execute through the Option Alpha platform. And again, all of that requires progressively more revenue to actually, pay for those costs and those servers and those, integrations and the development costs around that. So hopefully you see kind of the path that we're going on, and hopefully this makes sense. If it does, I'd love to get your guys' feedback and comments on this, obviously, because it's really important to me. But I think just having maybe a little bit more transparency about how we generate money through Option Alpha and basically what we're doing with that money is really important, because ultimately it's serving the community. I've told people from the beginning, from day one, that when I actually started doing this and really thought about Option Alpha as being something that could help people and a resource and a business out there that could do a lot of good things, I envision this company to be around for decades. I want this to be around for decades. I want it to be the hallmark of the options trading industry. And so I often have told people that I move at a glacier's pace, meaning that I'm not concerned with moving insanely fast and doing things wrong. I want to move at a slow enough pace that things get done right in the first place, and then we continue to move so that it's unstoppable. Like a glacier to me is this big mass that just keeps moving forward, and you can't stop it, you can't slow it down, and it's just inching forward every day. That's what I want Option Alpha to be. That's why we're also doing these daily podcasts. We're doing all the live trading that we're doing. We're launching all new versions of the website here soon where we have updated forums and updated courses and quizzes. We want to progressively improve the software and the platform and the training that we have so that it ultimately serves you better, serves the community better. So hopefully that helps out. I've actually really enjoyed this podcast. I didn't know I was going to ramble on for 15 minutes, so I apologize for that about that if I was rambling. But if you enjoyed this, like I said, I'd love to know your opinion on this. I'd love to get your feedback, or just shoot me an email and say, hey, Kirk, I really appreciate it. I love the openness, whatever the case is. I think it was important for you guys to understand kind of where we are, how we make our money, what we're doing with our money, and how we're serving you and the community a little bit better. So as always, hope you guys enjoy these. And until next time, happy trading. Thanks for joining us on the Daily Call. Be sure to subscribe right now for more daily options trading ideas, strategies, and tactics to help you learn how to place smarter, more profitable trades. And if you like what we're doing, don't forget to give us a rating and a review so we can continue to bring you the best daily content possible. We'll see you again tomorrow, right here on the Daily Call from OptionAlpha.com.